All right. So today we're going to work on the rest of the trees. The right-hand side, all of this side, highlight some of them, and the reflection, of course. And then, so what we have here is yellow ochre, sap green, cadmium yellow light, and cadmium red light. I'm using a round brush, and I'm going to start highlighting this one here. It's going to be more like an earthy tone orange. So I'm just going to make an orange with yellow and red. And I'm going to tone it down with either using, we could use sap green or yellow ochre. So let's get the right, we want a dark orange, not a light orange, because there's a light orange right next to it. So we're going to make the one next to it here darker orange. So more red, and that's why I'm saying we're going to bring in either sap green to tone down the red, the orange, or yellow ochre. We'll see which one is better. Okay, this takes a bit of, let's take sap green. Sap green is better. A little bit of sap green. Bring in the sap green slowly.
With the red?
Yes, with the orange, reddish orange, red orange.
So you added yellow to the red?
Yes, yes. I made a dark orange, and I'm taking a little bit of sap green and just putting it in there to darken a bit the sap green and make it, the orange, and make it earthy. I'm adding sap green slowly to see how dark I want to go. Let's see. Yeah, that's a good orange. So I'm using a round brush, and it's kind of flat. It's an old brush, any old brush. Doesn't have to be a specific one. I'm just gonna push the color out slowly. You don't want it to look too dense. I'm adding a tiny bit of red in the orange, more red in certain areas, not everywhere. So the orange doesn't look exactly the same everywhere. Okay. Take a little bit more of the sap green into that same mixture. So we'll make it darker, or into the orange mixture. So a little bit of a darker sap green, the orange, I mean, with using sap green. And you'll see in a minute. because I'm going to go back and highlight some areas. I'll wait for it to dry, and then I'll see where it needs to be highlighted a little bit more. But that right now, it looks fine. See, like a little bit here. Just a little bit right there, just to give it depth and volume. Otherwise, it will look flat. So you want to show dark and light because that makes it look 3D. Otherwise, it will look flat. I'm going to pause so you can take your time. Okay, so I'm going to change a bit the color of this one here because the two oranges right next to each other. I'm not going to change it too much. I'm just going to use yellow ochre. Maybe put a bit of cadmium yellow light in my yellow ochre. And a little bit of red. So it's not kind of completely different. It will be more of a reddish yellow ochre. Not much. And this is the first layer. Same thing, I'm using the same brush, dabbing with an old round brush. Okay, it needs a little bit more highlight, so I'm going to take yellow ochre. Again, cadmium yellow light. That will highlight that will make the yellow ochre lighter.
Yeah.
Trying to keep an eye on the shape I'm getting, because once you highlight, you see the shape. Light colors show more of what you have, show more of the brush stroke. You can see more of the brush strokes because of the highlight. See, look at this. This one is straight right there. There's a straight line, so I'm going to take a little bit of yellow ochre and just kind of go in. Let's take a little bit of green and put it in the yellow ochre to make the yellow ochre a bit darker. There, that's good. This is more like a, there, nature color. And I can take, if I want more darker, a darker color here, I can take sap green, cadmium red light, mix them together. That will, until I get kind of a more like a brown color, and then add it to the yellow ochre to darken it. There.
That was sap green and yellow ochre.
So if I want to make, here, I'll show you some. Let me show it for you, show you. All right, so let's say I have yellow ochre and I want to darken the yellow ochre, put more like a brown into the yellow ochre to make it darker. I don't want to squeeze a brown from the tube, burnt umber, so I can take then sap green. Sap green is a green color, right? And I'm going to take the opposite color of sap green on the color wheel, and it's red, and I'm going to mix them together, and I get this dark kind of brownish color because I'm putting the amount of the sap green and the red equal. So I get a brown right there. Here, I'm going to say right there. This way I can take the brown, put in it some yellow ochre, and that will darken my yellow ochre. That's if it's like I took burnt umber and put it in yellow ochre. So I'm going to take that and then come here. This is a little bit too dark, so here I'm going to add more yellow ochre to this. Okay, now I can go back. Sometimes you need to adjust a bit, so adjusting meaning that I would need to adjust the shape of the highlight I'm using. Maybe sometimes I use too much highlight and it's kind of becomes flat, so I go back and add more highlights or different or to change the shape of the tree. Sometimes it's I find myself highlighting and it's like a straight line and it doesn't work, so you go back and you just kind of play around with the shape. All right, that's good. We don't need more than that. This is good. I'm making it more orange. And I'm going to take sap green again, put it in the orange to darken the orange because it's more like a red green. Red orange, I'm sorry, red orange. Okay, I'm gonna wet it a bit, make it less opaque, kind of wipe my brush. Wipe it a bit, not much. Don't push too much, too hard. And I'm just doing a bit of that reflection down. Okay, let's take a little bit of that again, yellow ochre that we used here. So I'm adding a tiny bit of yellow and yellow ochre, and I'm going to take this down as well. And that's all we need to do for this one here, for these two trees. I'm gonna pause. Okay, so right now I'm gonna highlight greens. So with the green, what I did is I took some sap green, put a little bit of red in the sap green, touch of red. Don't put too much because it turns either olive or brown. And cadmium yellow light. And I'm going to highlight some of maybe the trees in here in the back. Just this one here because it's a bit dark. So what I'm trying to do is create levels of trees in the back. Some are further away, some are close by. So kind of soften the color of the green behind the highlighted ones, the ones that are yellow. So instead of having a yellow one here and then dark green behind it only, I'm doing yellow right there and a bit of a lighter green in here, medium colored light. And then we have a darker one in the back. So we have levels of greens in there. I'm going to take a little bit more of cadmium yellow light and sap green. So I'm changing the color a bit of that green that I used. And again, I'm going to start highlighting this one here. And this one here again is sitting next to an orange one. So it's nice to highlight it. Add a bit of lighter green in here because it's sitting next to an orange. So the contrast is not too big. Push the color out a bit like that to the edge. Try a little bit, not all the way, but kind of a little bit. Again, we're trying to have trees in the front that are a bit lighter, in the back darker. Now I'm going to take more sap green into that mixture of sap green and yellow and cadmium yellow light. Put more red in there, so that gives me an olive color, and yellow, a little bit of yellow. And again, let's kind of highlight this one a little bit in the back here. Not much, just enough to create depth in there. So we have, you see now you have the green in here and then you have the dark one in the back, really dark ones in the back. So these are in the back are further away. So this is good. And I'm going to highlight a little bit again, just a tiny bit more. So with acrylics, I usually wait for it to dry and then I adjust the highlight. Okay. Right, this is good. I'm just going to take my flat brush or bright, whatever you have. Put some water in here on the brush. And again, I just want to push one of them behind. So the three trees here are sitting right next to each other. I'm just going to push one of them back by using, let's push this one here, the big one. Instead of having it coming forward, we'll just push it back a bit using, again, cadmium red light with sap green. And I'm dipping the tip of my brush in water just to create a kind of a glaze. This is a dark red now, like my brush, and I'm just going to come here, give this one here a little bit of a, push it back a bit. If the one you've done already looks good and you don't want to do that, there's no need. Then keep it. You don't have to. Okay. All right, that's good. Looks good. Good. All right, I'm going to pause. Okay, so now we're going to put some stones in here, rocks, little rocks in there. And I can do a brown again using red.
A brown brush, Leah?
Yeah, that's a brown brush. Yeah, yeah. I can use again red and green to make a brown, a nice earthy brown, or just use brown burnt umber. Excuse me, burnt umber. Now we can highlight this with white, and you see as soon as you put white, you can tell if it's leaning more towards red or green. It's kind of like a grayish color. It gives you that gray color right now because there's more green in it, but I can make it more red by adding red. But the only way for me to see this is to actually use a bit of white in there, and that will give me exactly what color this is going to be. So I'm going to take for now this combination, which is a medium tone. I want it to dry darker, and I'm just going to start putting a kind of a couple of.
That was red, green, and white.
Yeah. So I made a brown with red and green, and I put a bit of white in it, just a little bit, so I can see it, and I can see if it's a greenish brown or a reddish brown. So white, not a lot of white, a little bit, you don't want too much white in there. Just enough for you to see when you see it, when you put it on the canvas. Okay. Okay. Now at this point, I'm going to take a little bit of more of the white and highlight this. More red. And I'm going to take a little bit of yellow ochre as well. That gives me a nice warm highlight rock. Okay. And I'm going to do top. Highlight this. You don't want to lose completely the brown that you put in there, just the top. You can see in the reference, they're almost, some of them are almost white. At this point, and I'm going to bring in a little bit more white in there. This is when I can adjust the horizon line if I want. We don't want rocks everywhere, just in a couple of areas. Because too much of the same thing, it loses its interest. It won't be interesting anymore. All right. Now, at this point, I'm going to put a bit of water in there, bring in a little bit of more white and brown, but more watery. Okay, you'll see what I'm going to do here. I take my brush and I'm going to give some of them here a reflection in the water. Some of these rocks. But you really have to make it more watery. So all right, so I'm going to take more white into that same mixture, water. So I did put a reflection, but I'm going to highlight some of this reflection as well. So when the color, or the paint I should say, the paint is glaze, it will dry darker. It depends on what's underneath it. So if the color underneath it is dark, then it will dry darker. All right, we don't want to, again, too much. I'm going to put some of them, I'm going to put them longer, because that's what usually happens. Some of the rocks will be longer. It depends on the size of the rock. Okay. All right, perfect. And then after this, we'll put some reflection on the water itself, and then we'll move on to the boat. I'm going to pause. All right, now we're going to take, we have here cerulean blue and white, and it's kind of watery, not too thick. And I'm going to do a couple of, with a round brush, reflection.
Round brush.
Round brush, yes. Or any brush that you find comfortable, like you like.
This looks good.
Now, one more thing I do, if we can do that, let's leave this to dry, and then we come back and highlight it a bit. And the other thing I'm going to do is, see this dip in here, in there, in the sky right there, you see the sky? We can do that. We can show more of the sky, and it's in the, here. You can see it here. More of the sky. So we can take same color and come here and then just kind of open up or do more reflection. Doesn't have to be exactly the same. Whoa, that's a bit too much. That's okay. So this is kind of, because it's more of like a glaze, it's drying darker, which is perfect, because not all of the reflections usually are light and dark. They're not all the same color. And let's add a tiny bit, a couple of little ones here, because it looks funny if it stops completely. And now I'm going to take a little bit more white, put it in the same mixture, dip the tip of your brush in water, and let's come here and then highlight a bit. Same blue. So it's white in the blue, in the same blue we had before. A little bit more white and again like a glaze. And all I'm doing is I'm highlighting the reflection a bit. Some of it, not all of it. You don't need to highlight all of the reflection. Again, a little bit more white and come here. White in the blue. And just add a reflection over this same reflection, a little bit of highlighted blue. And you could just add as many layers as you want, you know, wait for it to dry. If it's not enough, you see is the blue getting again disappearing, or it's not light enough. You can keep on highlighting or just kind of leave it just the way it is if you are happy the way it looks. There. So the highlighted part is where the strong light is. It's not all over, especially in this one here where it's reflecting the sky. So I'm going to do a couple right here and a couple of highlights in here, and I'm going to leave it. Because you don't want to, don't cover the whole, all of the blue. Leave some of the blue dark and highlight some of it. So you highlight where the color of the sky is intense. Sometimes because there are clouds, you find that you see that it's lighter because of the clouds. And keep some blue dark in there. If you highlight all of the blue, it will kind of take over. It would be a little bit too much. So I would suggest just a couple, not much. And if you find that you highlighted a little bit too much and you don't want all of this, no problem. Take some Sap Green. Put a bit of white in your Sap Green or yellow, Cad.Yellow Light. Make it into a glaze, and I'll show you right now. Just and then go over some of the blue, and that will just kind of soften and reduces those blues in there, right there, like that. So it's not only blue. And that's it. I'm going to pause. All right, so what I'm doing right now is highlighting again over the reflection in certain areas. So I'm finding that the reflection is a little bit too much. So I'm just going to go over it with the same color reflection that I did before. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, of course. I'm mixing red and yellow, and I'm putting a bit of, to create more like an orangey orange more on this red side, and putting a bit of sap green in there to tone it down. And I'm going to come here and again a little bit more of the reflection. So cover some of the reflection, too much, and that's better. Okay, that's it for this week. We're good. Next week we'll work on the boat. Meanwhile, I just used a white pencil crayon to put the boat back on. And next week we will work on the boat.